Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be looking at the next episode of Star Wars vs. Warhammer 40K by a fan with too much time. This is episode 13, Faith and Fate Take the Stage. Now, I don't know what we're getting into, because while there have been a whole bunch of snips prior to this that were all over the place, they're all literally all over the galaxy and not based on the actual happenstance in this episode. I'm assuming because the thumbnail, that's the word, is Shakti and the Emperor. So, is the Emperor getting involved in like a vision? I don't know, but there's a lot of religious people here, and when you believe things hard enough in 40K, they become a thing. So, I doubt it, but it'd be fun. Also, Shakti. So we're probably going to that fight that they put off for literally hours of video at this point. I don't care though, because I want to see where this goes. If you haven't already, there's a link below to the original video. It's fan. He's a good writer. He's a really damn good voice actor. I just like these videos, so hit him up if you haven't already. Are you done? If you like this, subscribe, and let's get started. Star Wars vs. Warhammer 40K. Overall, though, I actually like the fade-in effect right now with it being really dark. Gives it a really ominous vibe, along with that droning music in the background. Nice vibe. Episode 13. Ooh! Oh, did you hear that? The violin just kept going up and up as soon as the 13 came in the red. Faith and Fate take the stage. Okay, this is being done a lot better than the previous. I still think it's a bit longer than I would like. But between that and the music backing it up, no, this is great choice right here. I am completely okay with this. Yep. Oh, jumping back into the sister.
This cramped, dimly lit room was not ideal for her battle, not by a long shot.
Oh, because they were in the command post she just took out.
Julia almost regretted her impulsive action, seeing as it had left her without the use.
Okay, so if this happened right as the command post has been taken out, at what point does this happen by comparison to the other events, like on the bridge with 1313? It has to be... It really depends on how fast she got over here after she promoted Lazarus. I don't quite know.
Use of her bolter. She had, upon entering the
that
command
is a very
bunker,
big gun.
Noticed that the crew in front of her were
it's
standing and sitting
art,
at their stations while simultaneously being still, silent, dead. The Sororitas had assumed witchery and blown the corpses away with a full salvo of her bolter, only thinking to counter a possible ambush from her blind side the moment after her last bolt had expended itself.
Ooh,
the sister Palatine, Rajulia, was regretting her snap decision more and more as she was made to shuffle and maneuver within the enclosed space.
Damn good in fight.
Dark at the best of times, the only light entering the command post now came from the outside, a crown of pale sunlight.
Okay, I love this. I love that we're hearing the blaster bolts and the lightsaber in the background while they're talking about this. Because even though he's not talking about the combat, like melee at this point, melee, whatever, you get the feeling that so much is happening. Great choice of just having the music with the art there. And it just fits the narrative.
Shining in through the squat windows which circled nearly the entirety of the octagonal
haven't
room.
seen this canvas art.
The lumen lamps and other artificial light sources had been rendered inert when Rajulia's bolter had turned nearly half the post into an obliterated mess.
Damn.
Cogitators sparked and dripped amniotic substances onto the corpses of their former operators, machine and man equally soulless and unable to aid her. In desperation, her eyes darted to the door. Retreat was a bitter pill to swallow, but every moment she was forced to duel the athletic Xenos warrior, she grew more and more certain of how hopeless.
Okay. This is some of the weirdest Shakti art I've ever seen. I don't usually just talk about the art itself other than to geek out, but it's definitely her. It's very visible, and wow, that is very polygonal. Didn't even know that was a word, but apparently it fits.
Her fight was. Her maul could not produce a stable power field, only one that expelled in bursts, more akin to a small thunderhammer than the kind of weapon normally wielded by the law enforcers of the Adeptus Arbites.
I'm sorry. That is... She has a maul that's basically a thunderhammer? That is one souped up maul. Holy crap.
While this provided her with power, and with a method of forcing the foul Knight of Jedi
and maybe standing
back,
up to the blade,
it also meant that she could not lock blades with a man-shaped beast without destroying her own weapon in the process.
Yep.
The Crimson Razors had briefed her and her sisters extensively on these warriors after killing one of their masters during the initial invasion, and she knew well that she faced...
Wait. The initial... Oh, the initial evasion. Wait. No, this is the Crimson Razors. they're not the ones who stormed the ships. They wouldn't know about that. Huh. What did I...
After killing one of their masters during the initial invasion.
Okay, I'm assuming there was just a master here that we just had die off screen. I guess that makes... No. No, it wasn't Anakin's party because Anakin was the one who made contact and he escaped. I guess they could have got information from that, but whatever.
And she knew well that she faced more than met her eyes.
There's probably something I just missed off screen.
These handicaps, paired with the cable-laden ground, dark environment, enclosed space, and psychic nature of her fierce foe, was just enough to make the sister consider escape in place of sure defeat. But alas, the door had sealed behind her even before she had blown away the cogitators. She lacked the coordination while in powered armor to reliably tap in the proper code in a hurry. Even if she could trust beyond reason that the door would remain powered while all else had gone dark. No, even retreat would not be possible. Rajulia discharged the bolt pistol she clutched in her left hand. She knew now not to aim for the damned Xenos directly, the creature using the warp to increase its own speed or even redirect the trajectory of her own bolts. No. Instead, she used the explosions caused by the bolts themselves, firing the weapons into the ground around them as she fought to deny the alien knight some of her potential avenues of attack.
Oh, that is brilliant. Sorry, the thing that this reminds me of the most is actually back in Battlefront 1. I don't mean the EA Battlefront 1. I mean old school PS2 Battlefront 1, where Jedi were invincible, you didn't play as them, and the only way to do it down is basically what they're doing right here. This is a strategy I've seen work in games that are somewhat not canon anymore. But I don't care, because it's just the entire denying ground, not by so much shooting, but, you know, grenades. So it just... Sorry, I'm geeking out because I like the tactics being figured out on the fly. It's such a cool glimpse of just showing, yes, she's a Palatine. She raised up through the sisterhood because she's really damn good at it. And definitely combat, because I'm pretty sure Palatine is a combat-focused sister as well. I mean, most of them are. The gameplay ones all are, but apparently there's a lot that aren't. Some are healing, and maybe a side of torture.
Rajulia felt her heart suddenly launch itself into her throat as the back of her heel caught on a thick, unseen cable which lay across the cluttered ground. She bit down on the dread, trained to harness such things in the instant they occurred, shifting her weight to turn her backward tumble into a full-powered upward kick.
Ooh.
The Jedi backflipped from the path of the ruinous blow, her face impassive, as if all of this were merely a tedious chore for her.
It very well might be.
Rajulia rolled a dial on the handle of her power maul, further extending the shaft of the weapon as she whipped her hand back, smacking the floor behind her and creating a nearly deafening thump. The recoil from her power weapon giving her the push she needed to remain upright as she lowered her leg from the kick, power servos whirring and hissing with the movement. The Jedi had landed in a crouch and slowly, smoothly rose, saber forward. Her movements were unnatural.
Dude, sorry, this is such a great set piece right now. Not just because we're getting to see what a Jedi looks like from someone's perspective in the Imperium who isn't a Space Marine librarian, because that's kind of the only other way we saw that impression from of, you and what army? Oh, sorry, they're already dead. No, we're seeing it from a standard-ish human who's not just looking at it as, here's the monsters we gotta fight and just hope to get enough ammo into them. We're seeing this through a Palatine, a sister battle who's good at melee, who's really damn good on the fly, who has an amazing set of power armor that, well, maybe not good at dexterity because bigger armor, yeah, just dimensions don't change, has really good control. We're getting to see that it can do backflips and kicks and all this crazy stuff that... This is so cool because we're seeing this is what someone competent on the human level with power armor and adequate weapons and training can do. And it's freaking brilliant because we saw what crazy dedication would do in 1313. We saw the crazy Lazarus charges. We saw all that stuff going down. Here, we're seeing what a human can do with advantages. And now we're also seeing a Jedi being set up as calm, passive, able to bullshit psychic their way out of things, according to the Imperium side at least, as opposed to bullshit force their way out of things. Take that pun. I like it because it's setting up both sides as incredibly competent and good at what they do, because this is an even match. If anything, I'd actually put them weight more on the Jedi Master because they haven't done any Force shenanigans yet, like they were earlier, but a lot of them did. This time Phase just didn't do that. Yeah. I like this because it's such a good setup. Also, and I keep saying this in multiple episodes, we're seeing what each little step up the power rating goes. We saw basic army versus the army of Jedi just against a trick, and what one side could do by comparison. We saw troops of one side versus troops of the other, clones versus technically also clones based on how fan interprets Krieg. We're seeing all these step up, and we're just building to where we're finally going to get back to, and I hope we get back, because some people have mentioned maybe it doesn't happen, but hope we get back to the entire battle between the Space Marine, Librarian, and all of the Jedi army that was on the ship. So like maybe another 40. Sorry, it's building up hype by showing what lower level power fights look like. This is just two people at matched levels. Maybe slightly unmatched, but not overwhelmed on either side. Just, God damn it. I'm geeking out because this is good writing, it's good setting, it's good pacing. I just appreciate it.
Fueled by the power of the warp, and they struck the sister of battle as predatory. Like an ash tiger shifting its weight before a pounce, or the brief moment before a Vostroyan potato bear reared itself up, muscles silently
Vostroyan potato bear?
Or, in this case...
No, we're going back. Is that a real thing, or did he just make that up? It's so stupid. I'm pretty sure it's probably real, but potato bear? A Vostroyan potato bear? Wow, they were already a stereotype, and...
muscles silently bunching under fur. Or, in this case, beneath voluminous robes. The fight was all but hopeless. Too many factors were against her, and Julia knew that even the last 30 seconds of frantic survival had composed some of the best maneuvering and dueling she had ever managed, especially with a power maul. And even then, she had only held her own for this long thanks to her strategic use of her bolt pistol, a pistol which had 2 shots left in it. Her time was ticking down, and from the look on the alien warrior's face, that fact was no secret to either of them. She grit her teeth.
But technically they're in enemy territory, someone might walk in.
Think! She ordered herself. The brief pause she had been allowed would only last milliseconds more.
She is a sister.
Julia needed to think of something,
the entire shield
or
of
to
faith.
buy more time to think of something. Sneaking in and butchering our command staff. Just the kind of shadowy, dishonorable tactic I would expect from an alien witch and her order of heretics.
Yeah, that's how they do them all.
The sister spoke in Gothic. She had not had the time to even begin mastering any of the local languages, and she was only fluent in the most basic sentences of the local dialect. To her partial shock and disgust.
Also, I just noticed there's almost looks like they're either a reflection of an Aquila or there's an Aquila in what looks like a glass or mechanic eye. Or there could just be a mechanic eye roughly looking at shape based on things not being visible. Can't tell.
The alien's eyes widened slightly, and her nostrils flared, clearly comprehending her.
Being called a witch.
You have no right to speak of honor, butcher. You and your regime are killing millions here on Axum. Innocent men, women, and children. People who were living their lives well enough without the threat of your own order of murder.
I mean, yeah, on the other hand, I remember the Horus Heresy times and the Crusade before that. That's kind of par for course for the Imperium. It's like, hey, you have your life? Fuck you. We have your life now. Yeah. Yeah. Also, ooh, weird transition there. I like it, though.
Murderers bring death and misery for the crime of not being human enough. The alien said back, speaking an accented but understandable Gothic.
That's not an insult, that's actually how they roll.
Darted about. The room was so cramped, especially for her empowered armor. And without her helmet on, she had not the augmentations nor transhuman sight.
Of course she's not wearing a helmet, because all main characters don't wear helmets. A 40K trope that is being reflected as an actual mistake. On the one hand, damn you, fan, for playing into the trope. On the other hand, thank you, fan, for treating it realistically that this is a mistake.
Sight to overcome all the darkness and obstacles around her. Yet she steeled her mind and reminded herself that in all things the faithful find a way. Yes, we have killed millions, and we will kill billions more.
There is nothing we would not sacrifice, no act we would not commit, no height we shall not reach if it means the survival of humanity.
Rajulia retorted.
Yeah.
Survival? If survival is what you seek, then why make war with the Republic? Why kill all these people? They are no threat to you.
This is the weird part because, I mean, the wow, I was gonna say blue consoles. Red team, blue team, Crimson Razor. Actually, is it the blue consoles? No, I think that's someone else I'm remembering. Yeah, blue team, they know about the ship. They know what's going on. They would know, oh shit, they attacked first. Red team, and I do actually know they're Crimson Razors because we talked about them so much, they wouldn't know that unless they hacked the net and just found out about the other ship's positioning, in which case, that's kind of weird and kind of a plot hole because, like, did they reach out to anyone? That seems like something they would actually want to cover prior to this. So I'm assuming they just don't know. It doesn't really make sense because, honestly, prior to the invasion, their entire engagement was finding a clone who was being held captive. The clone was human. The alien holding him captive wasn't, and the alien holding the clone human captive was also using AI. I get the Imperium doing this because that's just what the Imperium does. I get the religious faction in the Imperium doing it because that's just kind of what it does. It makes sense they're doing this. But just the entire... if they happen to know about the other stuff, I'd be a little surprised.
The Jedi said. Rajulia thought, but did not look down at herself as she went over her armaments in her mind. She had more magazines for her discarded bolter, but they would do her no good, and recovering the weapon was out of the question. The alien would skewer her without a second thought. Ha! You think just because you are
The fuck is going on here? Come on, look at this and tell me you're not thinking the words, Kmart has a sale! Tell me those words don't fit. I hate how much those words fit. Oh, God.
shaped like humans, just because your faces look like ours, that this means you have succeeded? That you have deceived us, the Emperor's chosen? You have already shown us your true colors, and even if you had not, we would already know of your ways before falling victim to them.
I mean, aliens in 40K are different.
Accused. The alien blinked in a perfect imitation of human confusion.
Yeah,
even shock.
Out of context, it makes no
Shown our
sense.
true colors. We have done nothing to earn such abuse from you and your emperor. We were engaged in our own war, which had nothing to do with you or with humanity in general. The Jedi said. Sister Rajulia also had 2 grenades, one a frag and the other crack in nature.
I mean, to be fair, it did have a lot to do with humanity, and literal humans set the entire thing up. They don't know that, but it just makes it more ironic.
Even finding the right moment to reach down and snatch either one for use in the fight would be a tremendous challenge.
Doesn't get better.
Using the frag grenade in this kind of enclosed space would be suicide. After all, she was equipped with munitions sufficient to kill traitor space marines. Just one such grenade.
I mean, it's a crack grenade, but actually, yeah, if you got a really good lucky hit with a crack grenade, it would kill a space marine. Just took me a second to process. Wait, a crack grenade being a threat to a unit? No, not even one-on-one. Yeah, I'm used to the tabletop where it's like minimum of 5, and now they have like 2 wounds each regardless. I'm like, that's cute. But then I guess one-on-one, it makes a lot more difference.
Could fill the entire interior of the post with inescapable death. A bitter option, but one nonetheless. More lies, witch! Spare me! I know what your Republic did to the Atlas of Steel. Hundreds of thousands dead in an instant!
Okay, so that comment I saw below was accurate. They did know about the ship being taken out, but I thought they arrived somewhere else. Like, did they split off after that point? Because I thought they were splitting off before it. Like, they were separated in the warp storm, and they were the ones that were lost but weren't. Did I misunderstand where they broke off from the main convoy initially? I feel like I'm just missing context here. Or maybe they found out because internet? I got an idea, yeah.
Would that you could show such fury to us on the battlefield, as you showed to those civilians who arrived, frightened and homeless upon your doorstep. Do not feign ignorance of your sins! Rajulia roared, edging slightly to the left. This time, the Jedi said nothing, but her countenance, so superior and detached before, was now clouded, troubled as the sister's words struck some kind of chord within her. Shakti did know what Rajulia was speaking of course she did. That was no surprise to the Sister Palatine.
Yeah, I get Shakti knowing, and this argument makes sense, but I'm just coming back to it. What did I miss? Were the Crimson Razors with the rest of the fleet when that happened? They jumped after? Because I honestly thought that they had jumped before and they were one of the lost ships that were assumed just to be gone and just ended up drifting here instead. Huh. Maybe they did jump after that point.
What was shocking was that the alien would even play at being troubled at all. Rajulia used the time to consider her last weapon, her crack grenade. The crack was a pseudo-magnetic sphere housing within itself a shaped charge affixed to a gyroscope.
Ooh.
She knew they were pseudo-magnetic because whatever she hurled them at, be it the metal of a green-skinned tank, the ceramite of a Traitor Astartes Terminator, or the biocarapace of a raging Carnifex, the grenades would generally succeed in adhering to the target.
Huh. You know, when you put it like that, that's actually a really advanced piece of technology that they just use for a general explosive. No, seriously, if it's magnetic, you stick to magnetic things. A tank, something from the greenskins, sure, there's metal everywhere. But ceramite, maybe it's a compound. Maybe it's just a really strong magnet. I don't know. Bioceramic or whatever the hell Tyranids do, that's almost completely organic. And while metal has some organic components, because carbon, I doubt they're using those kinds because it's probably just not worth the investment. Yeah, Tyranids are more built for swarm, with occasionally big ones. Granted, I've also seen a few huge ones that you can do elite with, but I don't see that. More importantly, if they get attached to all of that, that's not actually magnetic in the slide. It's similar to the Force. It's almost a mini gravity effect that's localized upon activation of proximity, which is pretty damn cool. And just further examples of, hey, tech in 40K. It's actually super advanced, and while they have a great mastery of using what they have, they don't quite know what they have. And I just like this because it's such a little thing that even though she knows enough to know how it works, kind of how it functions, have a tech babble explosion, it's enough real explosion of bullshit. So basically tech babble. You can tell because the words used are actually words as opposed to whatever the hell Star Trek decides to do with their stuff. And I like Star Trek, but it's all babble. This is a good example of here is tech in a setting that is way more powerful and advanced than anyone seems to know. Do the Mechanicus? They probably have a better idea, but they're probably still wrong because that's kind of the entire thing in 40K. Having stuff that they don't quite understand and just making it work. I love this because it's such a little thing, put in the heat of battle and just talking about a weapon and just showing like, yeah, this is actually incredibly advanced technique. But we're going to just go through it, so I'm going to blow it up. Yeah, it's just normal too because it's just a crack grenade. I love this little detail.
The gyroscope within spinning the charge to face the enemy and blowing a precise hole right through the unlucky and likely dead foe. She doubted, however, that such a thing would work against the robes of the Jedi, and the blast radius on a crack grenade would not succeed in filling even this space, though it would likely do serious harm to an unaugmented human through the sheer change in air pressure. But such a thing was not something she could rely upon to kill the alien. She settled on her plan of attack.
Force powers be bullshit if they know that.
Began to speak again. That attack is a mystery, even to us. Please, we do not need to fight. There is clearly some kind of misunderstanding occurring between us. If you come with me, explain your context, your side of the alien began. Rajulia laughed, the sound a hoarse, humorless thing, a sound of tragic hatred, of malice burned so deep and ignited so powerfully that it was all the sister could do to laugh and not.
Okay, this is actually fine to me. Not because what she's thinking. Hers is probably more the listen and talk to an alien who killed us. That's a 40K line that I don't think anyone could actually cross this soon after it just happened, and when they're in the heat of battle especially. Maybe later if another foe came in and they had to, which is the only way it seems to happen, and it actually does happen pretty frequently now that I think about it. That might happen. That's not the case yet because I don't think the CIS is pushing so hard at the moment, at least on the 40K side. On the Star Wars side, they're kind of, yeah. But it's funny to me because if she listened, if all of their basic canonicity, which apparently I'm just going to use as a word today, was ignored, and they decide, you know what, I'll listen to the nice alien who's been trying to kill me and has slaughtered a bunch of my people that I'm responsible for. I'm going to come with them. And if they did that, Palpatine would kill her. I mean, he'd probably maybe torture her for information. Maybe. I don't know. He might just kill her. Because easy. That's it. So it's like, even if she listened, even if Shakti got her way, it is doomed to failure so hard because Palpatine would never let that information breach get out. Because he does not want them peaceable. He wants them, well, in pieces. I was trying not to make the pun, but I realized, no, it's the best choice. I mean, if they took them somewhere else instead, it might, but I don't think the command is going to be here at this point because I don't think it's generalized. It's probably just back behind it. Everyone's carrying out their missions.
Lunge out in an expression of her dire fury. You expect me, a holy maiden of the God Emperor, to surrender myself to you, an alien, an honorless witch, a petty heretical assassin? We stand amongst the dead, robbed by your hand and defiled by your psychic blight. And you have the audacity to even attempt to coax me into a surrender?
Yep.
The Jedi recoiled at the words, almost as if struck. She made no attempt.
See, this makes a lot of sense to me because this is perfectly accurate. It's literally showing, hey, you know how I called you out earlier on actions that happened with someone else? We're not really sure what's going on. And it's like, oh, this is why your side's evil. Okay, it's a grand level thing, but this is taking you to a much more personal level of, this is what Shakti actually just did. So, yeah. This isn't some, well, I didn't quite do it. I have deniability. It's, no, bitch, you just slaughtered people. And yeah, I mean, it's war. It happens. But also, calling him out for it accurately because there's no deniability here. I did it. Or, well, she did it. Yeah.
Attempt to defend herself this time,
Because she
merely
did.
grimacing, still looking troubled, but lifting her saber back into a proper, aggressive posture. Good. Accept this, Xeno. This is the way things should be. The natural state. No deceptions or
40K,
lies
yes.
or convoluted schemes. Just you and I and our people fighting for.
The natural state is no lies or schemes. In neither universe is that ever the case. I mean, in 40K, Zinch, and then just everyone else who has plans within plans, wheels within wheels, and yes, I am quoting Dune about that. And then there's just freaking Palpatine, man! Oh, I love it. It's so much bullshit. But from her point of view, it probably looks normal. Even if everyone else who knows more would know it's not.
For our place in this galaxy, a place which cannot be shared.
To be fair, it's not actually your
said,
galaxy.
falling into
details.
a light crouch of her own. You cannot win, said the alien plainly.
Ooh,
Rajulia smiled.
I like the music.
You arrogantly think that because you have power over the warp, you are so formidable as to challenge me with such certainty?
Yeah,
She said,
I mean,
shaking
she's
her
BSing
head.
right now, but yeah.
I am a scion of the God Emperor's own will, his mandate made flesh. Within me is his word and his divine.
This is the second most creepy bit of art I've seen so far. Because, we know what kind of artist did this. The focus on the arm hair for specifics. It's like when you see art of Fabio, you know exactly what kind of book you're looking at. When you see this kind of art, you know exactly what comes next. Mostly she'll go on to kill people and have a religious experience. And that's all I'm going to say on YouTube.
Light. He is God of mankind, ruler of all, and I am his loyal daughter. What are you to that?
Neat.
She asked. The Jedi scowled.
World Eater even.
Your emperor is not here, mad woman. No amount of delusion or belief in your false religion will overcome me or my ally, the Force. Do not surrender to the promise of peace, the potential to end this war. Surrender instead to the certainty of your own death. Death no distant god, real or not, can avert.
So she basically said, bitch, you have no choice, and your god is a myth. I mean, that actually is entirely possible because of how gods work. Myth as a psychic construct is literally accurate. So, yeah, but also no one is going to ever make that argument in 40K. Except for maybe Bile. Because he is kind of an atheist who works with gods. He's weird.
The alien snapped. She brought her hands together on her saber and leveled the blade towards Rajulia's throat. Death only I can avert, the Jedi Master asserted. As she spoke, she allowed rippling gusts of power and
someone's dying
come away
right now.
from her, billowing her robes and nearly forcing the sister back.
Ooh, tone
The
change.
pressure sending waves across her exposed face. Rajulia grit her teeth in a scowl which seemed to belong more on a crate dragon than on a human woman. Her servos whirred as she tensed, resisting the small storm before it settled. The Jedi stared her down, confident, though still troubled. No matter what, she was a warrior and had shoved all such issues to the side, focusing now on Sister Rajulia. The sister stood straighter and spat. I find your lack of faith disgusting. Your mastery over the warp is nothing compared to the power of my faith. But enough words.
Depending
Let
on how
our
they use it,
acts
maybe
speak
literally.
the truth, she growled. The Sister Palatine followed the statement by opening fire with her pistol, aiming right for the Jedi as she lunged and began the last charge of her life.
Oh, she knows she's about to die and she's fine with it. It's kind of like maybe she's hyping herself up and ignoring that. No. When you say it's the last charge, she knows how this is going to end and she's selling her life. Damn. Man, you son of a bitch. You did that right at the end. Let me go back a second here. That ending. You're not showing Rajulia dying, which is really damn important because you're leading everyone on going like, hey, yeah, this is definitely the end of her life. It's the cool fade out knowing she's going to die. Like when you have that samurai movie where they cut someone in half and they walk away and then they slowly fall. You know, the trope is honestly overused and completely cheesy, but you still kind of do it because it's just that kind of cheesy you enjoy doing. Like everything I do in general. But more importantly, you did that because that is the number one reason you can ever say she didn't die. Shakti showed mercy. And you can ignore it for maybe, 20 more freaking chapters, even longer. I don't know. And there's always that possibility she lived. Because if there's one truth in fiction, it's that if you don't see a body, if you're not absolutely certain that person's dead, as in dead, they ain't dead. And also considering the warp, that's always not a thing. But this is getting me because it literally perfectly alludes to that final stand. And honestly, I would have liked to see the ending of it, see that confrontation. And unless we're jumping into it right away or saving it for another one where they do something with it, or maybe jumping to Shakti's point of view after this and showing how it concludes, yeah, we could do that. Or maybe something happens. We just get that random time skip and we're missing information because then it becomes either a plot hole if handled badly or a plot point if handled well. What is going on? That we now know there's a character who can fight at a Jedi level, if not for long or continuously. What's going on? And she's already had effects, so just, man kills characters. Rajulia might very well be dead. But she could also be alive. At this point, it's basically Schrodinger's Palatine. Until we observe the state of it, it could be anything. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind this, but it's just ripping the feet right out of it. You'd be just like, here's the final battle. No, cutting at the end. Still, this was a really good episode. The music, though, the utility of that was absolutely amazing. This is probably some of the best musical usage for background to get the tone, the feel, and the effects right, to make you think so much is happening, even beyond the narrative itself. How there sounds to be blaster bolts and a lightsaber going everywhere, even when he's not talking about it. He's talking about detonators, but you hear that in the background. And then the music twisting from almost a chorded string instrument. I'm not good at instruments. I cannot tell you which kind. And then going in almost to a techno, low down, heavy beat. and it's actually shifting between. It's one of the two different beats. It was just a really good repetition of one fading into the other. Well done. And then just having the really heavy beat right at the end where it's like, yeah, I know I'm going to die, but we're doing this and there's no other way. And then pulling it out at the end because, like I said before, Schrodinger's Palatine. It's well written. If someone else did this who I didn't have faith in their ability, I would actually be very upset right now because this is easy to fuck up. This isn't an example when someone doesn't know what they're doing of good writing. It's an example of I don't know how to write a fight scene finally and edit, like make it end. So I'm just going to skip it and let you fill in the blanks yourself. Fan has proven he's good at writing. He's competent and he can actually pull off long-term plans. So I don't think that's where he's going because we've seen him have those kind of endings and showed it to other people and seeing a lot of things happen. So I'm assuming he's taking a more competent route of something is going to come up from this. Most likely we're going to go into Shaak Ti's point of view next or sometime in the future. Hopefully within the next 10 episodes. And see what her side of this was, or what she does next after a time skip. And whichever one is going to actually inform how this ended. If we go into Shaak Ti's during this, or right after immediately, without any time skip, we know what happened. It went down exactly like this episode was alluding to. But if there's a time skip, and if there's information we're not immediately given, if Shaak Ti is hesitant to talk about what happens at all, we can also start filling in blanks that may or may not be right. And that gives fan a lot of leeway to say, well, maybe she's alive, maybe she's not. Maybe something happened and she was captured, and now we have someone who can give information to change the paradigm. Paradigm? You know what, now that I think of... I don't know how to say that word. I've only ever read it. Paradigm, whatever. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that's all on the table if he goes that way. Either way is good. But we don't know until it's brought up. So there's always a chance of something jumping out and then finding out how it interacted later. Because surprise is well done, if led up too well. This could set up something. It could also not, and we would have no idea until something is clarified. So yeah, it's annoying because it could be something. It could also be nothing. And both will be acceptable, and I have faith in Fan to make that work. On a lesser author, I wouldn't. But Fan has proven he's very good. So if you haven't already, though, there's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. And yeah, I'm just going to check out more because I can. So I'll see you guys then. Adios.